And so it's great to have you here this afternoon. And again, welcome. And I would maybe just invite you to just share a little bit about your background beyond what I've just shared there. That would be great.
Well, I've met people who are doctors or perhaps they're musicians, and they said, when I was really young, it was what I wanted to do. That's me. When I was really, really young, I always wanted to work with people. I was 14 years old when I
Hmm.
started counseling folks. And you're like, what were you counseling people when you're 14? Well, back then, they let you counsel people on a hotline. So I was running a hotline when I was 14, and
Hmm.
I loved it and
Hmm.
continued doing that as much as possible all the way up until my 20s and I was in grad school. So I have been working with people through my whole life, and I absolutely love it. It's my favorite thing to do. It's my calling in life.
Yes, yes, excellent. I know that in your kind of introduction here, you talk about recently you work more with corporate clients and whatnot.
Yes.
Obviously, you've done a lot of uh, kind of family and person-to-person counseling, but you've made a shift recently as well, right? And maybe tell us a little bit about that shift that you've made there.
Sure. Well, I've been practicing as a psychologist for over 26 years, and during that time, I was thinking, I really enjoy helping people get back to work because insurance companies would send people to me who'd been off work for 2, 3, 4 years, and they just couldn't get themselves back to work. And I learned how to help people reorient themselves and get themselves back on track. And a lot of their complaints were complaints about the corporate setting that they were in. And I thought, you know what? I bet I could do a lot of good here if we could just have everybody know what I know
Hmm.
and learn it in a practical way. It's not that people don't understand some of these things. It's just that they don't know how to apply them. And sometimes they think that their brain works logically, and their brain doesn't work logically at all. They think it does, but it doesn't. And so I thought, what, I'm going to put together a curriculum for corporate culture and teach these things to people so that not just we can get the people working, but we can get the culture working back in the corporate culture. And I've been really successful. I've had companies call me back and say, we had some difficulties with a couple of our workers, but since you came and we did 2 or 3 workshops, it's resolved now.
Hmm.
That's very rewarding.
Yes, yes. So I know today we're going to talk about lots of different things. We're going to hope to provide some value to our listeners as well. And, amidst all this COVID phenomenon here, I know you have a lot of helpful tips for some of our viewers who might be challenged with the time that we're facing now. And whether it's mental health or whether it's self-care and a number of those topics. So maybe if you could, if I was to ask you, what is the common kind of question that people typically come to you with on all the decades that you've done psychology work? Does one come to mind, Deb?
Yeah, actually, it does. People talk to themselves in a certain way that actually makes their problem seem bigger. They say to me, "Oh, I have so much anxiety about COVID." And I said, uh, "No, you don't." And they said, "Oh, I do. I have so much anxiety." I said, "Well, just a sec here. When you say I have a broken bone, do you say I am a broken bone? No, you don't, right? So when we phrase things in a way that says that we are that thing, that we are the anxious thing about COVID, or we are the anxious thing about our workplace,
Hmm.
we make it way bigger. So I know that sounds like a really tiny little thing, but it's called like a mind hack. It's really important when you say, "Oh, I broke my bone. It'll be 6 weeks, and then it'll be all, then I have to get strong again." You kind of make it manageable. You kind of break it down. When you say, "Oh, when I think about being here and being in COVID and being, on my own, and I'm doing more solitary things," and then you think, well, what kinds of things could I actually do when I'm alone and
Yeah.
solitary? You think, oh, I could write. Well, I finished my book during COVID, so that's one good thing.
Nice, nice. Now you mentioned your book. Tell us that. What's the title of the book and what's it about?
You know, I love reading in the area of psychology. I do a lot. I read at least at least about 50 to 100 books a year. So 50 tough books and about 100, 50 other books to kind of intersperses it in. And I
Yeah.
have never come across a book with illustrations
Hmm.
and information. When I ask my people I work with, when I ask them, "Hey, can you read this book so it'll help inform you?" They're like,
Hmm.
"Oh, okay." And sometimes they do, and most of the time they don't. So I wrote a book that is illustration based. It's picture based. So it's called A Picture Book of Emotions. And the point of the book is to make everything bite sized pieces. Because when I ask people to get informed about these things, they often don't. So I
Hmm.
made this book for people who probably aren't going to read, the 50 to 100 books in a year, because
Hmm.
folks who do that can go and read the books on their own. So this is for things, it's a resource. It has 1 or 2 pages for each emotion, and I've got about 35 emotions. Most people, when I ask them how they are, they say sad, mad, glad, or bad. It's
Hmm.
not much of an emotional array. And so the picture book helps to explain the emotions, and people are like, yeah, I really relate to this picture. So, and then it has a word cloud beside it to describe the different other words that you can use to how that picture looks, perhaps like irritated, disgruntled, overwhelmed,
Hmm.
despondent. And most people go, yeah, I do feel all those things, but they don't use those words. They
Hmm.
use those big words that say, oh, I just feel so like nothing is going right. And I'm like, well, that makes the problem bigger. If you can make the problem smaller, you
Hmm.
can make things better. Do you remember Fred Rogers? Fred
Yes.
Rogers, Mr. Rogers, he said anything that can be talked about, we can make better. And anything that we can make better, we can make better today.
Right.
So that makes a big difference. So yeah, it's a book with if pictures and word
Hmm.
clouds, and then there's a page behind it
Yeah.
related to how to make that emotion better.
Right. Right.
1 page. Or
Emotions. Along the way, I used to be well, like many, many of us when we were younger used to be more focused on, logic and, all of those sort of black and white thing. And as we all grow older, we
yeah,
realize the importance of the softer things where there's emotions. Frankly, they're way more powerful than logic and things like that, right? So I appreciate that you have a tool there to allow people to kind of uh, tap into that and be aware of that and play with that, may I say, as
yeah,
well. Yeah.
a
So
good word, play.
yeah, play with it. Play with the various range of emotions that we have, and be able to put a name on it. Be able to call it out. Be able to be aware of it. So that's great. So when is that book out, Deb?
Coming soon. I'm just doing a self-publishing part right now, which is
Hmm.
a new experience for me. Another thing that you can do during COVID, if you
Mm.
want.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, those kinds of things like learning a new activity during COVID is a really great idea. I have
Yeah.
some people who are trying their hand at watercolor and they've never tried that before.
Yeah.
Just anything new that you can do on your own. It
Yeah.
makes you feel accomplished. This morning on Facebook, I learned one of my friends on Facebook said, "I just painted this wall." And you know how rewarding it is to have something done in one day?
Hmm. Yes, the joy of success and of completion,
Yes.
and yes, yes. So, tell me more about your speaking side. I know you have recently sort of make more time for that side of your I guess, interest and passion. I know you have quite a passion in helping people, whether it's psychology or sessions or in fact, speaking and training. Tell us a bit more about the speaking and training, and maybe embed in that, give us a tip of what you might have uncovered while you were doing some of your speaking and training work there with organizations. What are a couple of pearls of wisdom that you can pull out as well?
Well, one of the I okay, so I loved the presentation to corporations, and as I was working with one person at a time, I thought, I feel like I'm throwing one starfish back in the ocean. This way, I can throw a whole box of starfish back in the ocean. With folks I work with one on one, first thing I do is get their sleep back on track, and once I get their sleep back on track, their whole world opens up. So I have a talk on sleep,
Mhm.
how to make your sleep better and your life better. And then I have an interesting discussion on the proper care and training of your elephant. Now, I know that since you don't have an elephant, most people don't think they have an elephant, but their emotions are like an elephant. People think that they're logical, and they
Mm-hmm.
think that if they just follow their logic, they can get themselves out of all kinds of, strange, difficult relationship problems. And it's just not true. We are not logical creatures. We think we are, but we're not.
Mm-hmm.
And even the most logical people I've met, actually, their lives don't unfold the way that they think they will. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's really helpful for corporations to learn how to care for their people. And a really useful thing is to get feedback. So when you have a corporation that has leaders that are caring, and they help to include a sense of safety where
Mm-hmm.
everybody can share their own truth, then you get very disparate points of view.
Mm-hmm.
And people think that they talk, they think that they share, but they don't necessarily say what they mean. They just say what everybody else is saying, or they say it close. But when you
Mm-hmm.
really have a sense of safety in a corporate culture, then
Yeah.
you can actually get really divergent points of view, which is really wise, and it actually helps to improve the corporate productivity down the road and makes things much better. So a sense of interpersonal safety improves profit margins because people actually share more, and the corporate understanding is broadened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's excellent. So, question for you. Actually, before I go there, I see perhaps some of your friends or colleagues are on here. Jessica Wood, does that ring
Oh,
a
yeah, that's
Jessica
her.
Wood? Sheila
She helps
Williams is
me. Yep.
on. Sharon Diane is on. Yeah.
Yep.
Hi, Audrey. Audrey Kotniski as well had commented here. So, by the way, Audrey here says, let me just get this on here. Give me a second. I know that Sharon says that she can hear both of us, which is great. Audrey, a friend of mine here, a fellow speaker as well, trainer and so on, talks about, yeah, it sounds like a fabulous book, she says. So she appreciated your description of that. And so the volumes are coming through great. So yeah, so the next question I have for you is, what is it about the kind of speaking and training that really resonate with you, where you want to perhaps do more and more of that, and in the future? I know you've done decades of personal counseling and whatnot. What is it about speaking and training? I know you have a bit of a passion for that as well.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I love the exchange between the audience and providing engagement with the company, and then the follow up to learn from the leadership and the executive what are the true needs of the company, and then I see it improve. So I see the company get better and better. Sometimes with people, they come when they need help, and then I hear from them later how things worked out. With companies, I can actually see the progress go forward, and I can see people actually shifting their mindset, and I can see the change happening. It's kind of like watching something grow right in front of you. It's
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's like magic,
Yeah,
kind of. That's kind
yeah.
of what it's like. Yeah, so I think that's what my passion is to because I come in like at specific periods of time. Like I'll do it like once every 3 or 4 months, and then I
Mm-hmm.
come in. It's almost like flashcards. I can see the change happening right, sort of
Yeah,
right
yeah,
as it's coming in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. So I know you are based in Sherwood Park. Tell us a bit about, you've been in Sherwood Park for a long time, and I know you are quite involved in the community as well. Maybe share a couple of stories about your Sherwood Park experience and your work in the community.
I love Sherwood Park. I moved here with my husband 31 years ago,
Wow.
and part of the Chamber of Commerce, a huge Chamber of Commerce supporter. And I go to the Chamber of Commerce meetings on a weekly basis, and I love, Todd, Todd Banks, who's our Chamber of Commerce president, and being part of a community of people and supporting each other. It's so important, and learning from each other. So I love being connected with other professionals in Sherwood Park, and physicians and chiropractors and other psychologists. We get together in Sherwood Park. Some of the psychologists get together and share, wisdom and
Hmm.
ideas.
Yeah.
And being connected in a community helps me to, when people come to me and they say, yeah, we have this query. We're not really sure how to handle this problem with our employees, and we're wondering what we should do. And I say, you know what? I know somebody who can really help you with that, or I know somebody who's got really good skills in that area, and they're like, oh, that's fantastic. That's a great idea. And then I help with, like local fundraising efforts where we all come together and like we exchange ideas on the behalf of a good cause. So
Mhm.
I love Sherwood Park for that reason. Great community and great local support.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Trisha, Trisha Marie Terrett?
Yeah, I
She had
do.
made a comment here that I'll display as well. And actually, Sharon, there's a lot of comments here. You have a lot of supportive folks who are watching. And Vivian said the book is so groundbreaking. And she also says uh, growth is so amazing, so true. So anyway, she's also commented on how much she appreciate what you're doing there. And yeah, so in terms of the kind of professional training. I know that you've done some training. Is it a large group or is it small group? Is it pretty kind of intimate kind of settings that you tend to focus on?
Well, that's a good question. It doesn't take any more work to get ready to speak to 50 people than it does to maybe 500 people because it's the same material. Well, I guess you can have different engaging activities. That's not entirely true, but the
Mm-hmm.
material is the same. So I do speak in front of larger audiences of about 100 and maybe or so, but I do kind of gear my work to smaller, intimate audiences where people can actually exchange information and talk, because that's what engagement is all about, is about sharing. So usually I bring companies through sort of a curriculum where we talk about sleep, and then we talk about improving their stress management skills. So that's the elephant talk, how to proper care and training of your elephant. And then we learn about how their mind is surprising and a bit irrational, and
Mm-hmm.
how we can use that to sort of find new ways to hack their mind. And then we learn a little bit about the relationship part and about how to have uh, difficult and compassionate conversations, really important conversations, critical conversations,
Mm-hmm.
and then we learn about how the mind can sort of improve their body and their health. And that
Mm-hmm.
one's a bit kind of new. I would say it's new, so I haven't given that one all that often yet.
Yeah. Now I know you mentioned sleep, and on your website, which I'll share in a moment here, I got a lot of good stuff on there as well. On your website, one of the videos you talked about the tips for better sleep, and I know in
Oh,
this sort of pandemic here, some of us are probably getting more sleep than usual, and some of us are probably getting less sleep with all the things that are running through our mind and things that we
that
do. So sleep can be a tricky thing. So maybe tell us about sleep and sort of if you have sort of a few pearls of wisdom from there, what would it be?
I do. Well, what do you do with a really misbehaving telephone? What do you do with it? You turn it off and you
Mm,
turn it back on again, right?
right, right.
When your telephone's glitchy, you turn it off, you
Mm-hmm.
wait 5 seconds, you turn it back on again. It actually works pretty well for sleep too. What most folks do when they're having trouble with sleep is they lie there and they just ruminate and think
Mm-hmm.
and try to practice going to sleep. So what I tell people is get out of your nice relaxing bed and
Mm-hmm.
go and lay down somewhere cold and uncomfortable and miserable and turn it off. And then, let your brain kind of go level and then come back on, and then go back to sleep again. And I know that sounds like, why would that help me going to sleep? Because it teaches your brain that what you do in your bed is sleep and not ruminate.
Mm-hmm.
Another strategy for getting better sleep at night is to have a specific time to go to sleep. So I know that the title of the book is a picture book of emotions by Deb Vernon.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
Um, yeah,
I'm glad you can see the comments in real time as well. So you're on
yeah.
your Mac, so it's a little bit better than a little tiny phone that some people join us in. But you can see the audience questions right off the bat, so that's good.
Yeah. A Picture Book of Emotions by
Mhm.
Deb Vernon.
Right, right, wonderful. Hey, do you see Tony's comment already on your screen?
Tony, I don't see what
Yeah.
Tony's.
Okay. So then you must be looking at what I'm showing on the screen here. Do
Okay.
you see it now?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay, so what you're seeing is you're seeing the sort of what I share with the audience, everybody. Whereas if you go to a tab, there's actually a tab called Host Chat, and you can actually, sorry, Public, and then Host Chat. But Public, you can actually see all those comments. Time anybody have a comment, you see it right away. But that's okay if you don't see that right now. But I will display them for you.
I think Tony is gifted too.
Yes, I think so as well.
I
Tony.
think so.
Hey, Tony. Shout out to Tony. We're going to host a jam tonight, right, Tony? We're going to do a rock solid job with that tonight with a lot of musicians playing, hopefully. And also, shout out to Jim Dick as well as
Yeah.
Richard Cooley,
Yeah.
who just joined us as well recently here. So tell me, so sleep. I know it's a little bit of one of your pillars, isn't it? Or
It
specialization.
is.
One of your
It
pillars.
is.
Is this a recent thing, or is it a long-running thing with this sort of heightened interest in sleep?
Yeah, I've been really focused on sleep for about 10 to 12 years now.
Mhm.
Another really important thing to do when you're wanting to sleep is to give yourself about an hour to cool down. People don't realize that when you need to sleep, they want to be warm and cozy, but the body needs to be cool in order to sleep. You're like,
Mm,
really? My body needs to be cool? Yeah. So eating before you go to sleep is counterproductive, right? Because
mhm.
eating causes your body to heat up. It makes your digestive system turn on, like turning
Yes.
on the furnace. So people are like, oh, well, so don't eat before 2 hours before you go to bed. Yeah. So if you have a little little tea or something, that's all right. But if you have a huge meal before you go to bed, you're turning on your digestive tract and it's going to make your sleep. Even if you go to sleep, you say, oh, I do that all the time. I go to sleep and I eat. Well, you might get asleep, but you're not getting deep sleep. And that's the key is you feeling rested in the morning and you think, oh, I can do it. I can do it a different way. And I'm like, yeah, you can, but you won't get the deep sleep. And that's the really important part. So give yourself an hour to cool down. Sometimes having a bath or a warm shower makes your body, that sounds great. You make your body warm, and then when you come out of the shower, you actually cool down.
Mhm.
And it actually makes you sleepy, and it makes your body cool inside, even though you feel warm on the outside.
There you go. So Tony, after the jam tonight, when all those musicians finish playing, remind them to go and prep properly for sleep, okay? All right. So I'm going to share your website and we're going to talk a little bit about what you have on there. And so while I queue it up, if you can just talking about sort of some of the key areas of your website, but even probably our listener would love to hear you sprinkle in a few kind of useful and powerful tips for really whether it's mental health management, or self-care or sleep. But I'm going to bring it up, but feel free to give our listeners some sort of ideas for how we can all manage this a bit better, especially during these times.
I will. I'm actually going to take you to my kitchen cupboard if you don't mind.
All
So
right, we are
so
mobile, huh?
So one of the things I'd like to share with people is to talk to themselves differently.
Mhm,
Sometimes people say, "Well, what do I do to actually feel better?" I'm like, you know, you you feel differently toward yourself when you speak differently toward yourself.
mhm.
So one of the hacks that people can do is to leave notes around their home. For example, we can go to my kitchen cupboard right now.
All
Leave a
right,
note.
we're gonna
Yeah, leave a
go on a
note
journey
inside the
here
kitchen
with
table.
Deb
Yeah,
Vernon, the
even
registered
even leave a
psychologist
note.
from Sherwood Park, Alberta, who is also an awesome speaker and trainer and what is it? Speaker and trainer and author and all of those different things, which are actually quite related, actually.
Okay, so here is a picture of me as a little girl. Can you
Hmm.
see that?
Yes.
I'm a little girl right there. And here's a picture of my dad with
Mhm,
me inside my cupboard. Now, when I go into that cupboard, instead of eating something that I maybe shouldn't, I have a picture of my dad and
mhm,
me when I was a little girl. And
mhm.
I actually feel better about life because it gives me something to look forward to. When I open my cupboard up and I don't want to eat what's inside there, I put little notes in there to remind myself of something that's really important to me.
Mhm.
So that you can do that around your home. Before you go to bed at night, you can leave messages for yourself. And
Yeah.
then here's the key. You actually say those words out loud to yourself. So for example, let's say you're sleeping and you want to improve your sleep. You say to yourself, I can sleep like a baby, no problem at all. I rest incredibly well anytime I need to. I just go to sleep and my mind goes off. Even if it's not true, even if that's not always true, you can make it start being true by
Mhm.
saying that to yourself over and over again. Because people say the opposite all the time. They say, oh, I try to sleep, but my mind just doesn't turn off. Well, now you've created a verbal pathway for that. So
Mhm.
that's a mistake. So
Mhm.
if you say to yourself, hey, whenever I go to bed, my mind just goes flat, just like water, just returns to that calm state. You might do a cannonball into a swimming pool, but it returns to peaceful calm within a few minutes. So if you say that to yourself and you say those words to yourself on a constant basis, out of your mouth, not just in your head, it
Mhm.
actually makes a difference.
Right. I'm going to bring in the website so we can just take a quick look at it here. I think our listener is going to want to hear more from you in terms of additional ideas for how they could manage our times a bit better here. But I'm going to just take us off the screen for a moment so that your website can be larger here. So give me a second. I'm going to do that. You're going to all right, I think we're back in. So perhaps give us a sense of, you know, you have a website there. What are some of the key messages that you have on your website that if the listener was to kind of look at your website and that they glean three things from it, what would those three big things be?
I have some clips at the bottom of my website on those topics. So sleep,
Wonderful.
happiness, yep, motivation, and relationships. I have some clips that they can look at.
Right. On
And
which page is it? On home page or another,
yeah, it would be maybe under blog, probably.
perhaps, or speaking, perhaps?
Probably. Yeah, there we go. There's some clips right there. So
Yeah.
you can take a look. So those are some very short clips, maybe about 3 to 5 minutes of me giving very in short, helpful tips on each of those areas.
Mm-hmm. Right. I know
And
you have some other videos over here as well. Where were they? Were they on the home page? I've seen them as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's
There's,
one.
yeah. So, yeah, that's great. So, video is always great. I think we're getting a bit lazy with our brain these days. I find myself preferring video over reading most days. So,
Lots of people
is that a
do.
common phenomenon?
That's very common. That's why I did this, because when I ask people to read a such and such book, they don't. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna gather all that information up and I'm gonna put it into a small little chunk. And then when I ask you to get that chunk, it'll be there in your mind.
Hmm. Yeah. So, question. There's the website there. I wanted to switch gear a little bit. You have some, just like all of us, have different life challenges that sort of resonate with us and sort of perhaps change our perspective on things. Would you like to maybe share about any experience you have that our listeners might be able to relate to, where diversity brought a new perspective and a fresh kind of leash on life?
Yeah, I owe a debt of gratitude to my husband and his family, because they are from the trades, and they taught me a lot about how to speak to people and how to relate to people from the trades. And
Mhm.
so I just have a great appreciation and respect for the intelligence
Mhm.
of workers who are in the trades. And so when I'm working with people in corporations and they're talking about what they really want and what they really think is wise,
Mhm.
knowing what they mean, because the words and what they're meaning are not always the same, right? So
Mhm.
I'll say, I think what this person just said is this is what they really want to see happen, and being able to learn from my husband's family about how people from the trades, how they speak about what they truly want to have happen.
Mhm.
Being able to speak that way and understand that language and what they mean underneath the words, that has helped me tremendously. And I saw a note on the screen about what do you do with children to get them to bed, and what do you do with people to get them up on time. I think a lot of employers have that problem too, getting people to work on time and getting people to be rested, which
Hmm.
is why I have a huge chunk about sleep. Because I think a lot of problems in the workplace relate back to sleep, actually. If people get proper sleep, they actually get a better result at work. So, what do you do to get kids to sleep on time during quarantine?
Hmm.
Well, you know what? You have them say it out of their own mouth what they're going to do. So, it's 9:45. So what's your next step? And have them say it out of their own mouth what their next step is. Because if they do, they're going to have a harder time getting around what they're supposed to do than if you say it out of your mouth.
Yeah,
So that's one
sounds like
little quick tip.
yeah, sounds like you really focus on this sort of connection between the brain and the visual as well as the sound. So whether it's some saying it to yourself in your voice, or seeing your dad's photo, the visual,
Yeah.
just making the connection between the visual and the auditory as well as the brain kind of psychology there. It sounds like.
It makes a huge difference when you say it to your own self. The other thing is getting workers to work on time is noticing when they get to work and saying, "Hey, nice to see you. Good to see you this morning. I
Mhm.
noticed that you gave yourself plenty of time to get here." Notice and appreciate when they do something right. It's the fundamental principle of training anything, whether you're training animals or people or whatever you're training. If you notice when they do something right, even if it's accidental, it's
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
Just notice when they do something that looks close to what you want, and then make verbally let them know, "Hey, I noticed what you did. That was excellent."
Yeah.
Then they'll continue. They'll want to do that again and get that positive feedback.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, imagine how much better our world would be if we all go around looking for evidence of success and evidence of progress, and
Yeah.
praising it, and be able to encourage people to take the next steps rather than, feeling fearful that we might be cut down by other who are into more scrutiny than they are into encouragement, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. All right. Well, so uh, was there? I wanted to ask you a few more things, but I want to kind of pause and say, were there thoughts that you want to share with the group that we haven't gotten to? Ideas or any specific insights that you want to share that just.
Yeah. So a lot of people aren't even aware of some equipment that I bring with me when I go to do a talk at a corporation.
Mhm.
I bring some brain entrainment equipment with me, and the equipment helps with brain entrainment to actually, put people's brain back on track. It's on my website. It's
Mhm.
under brain entrainment, and it is. Yep, there it is. So I have several pieces of technology that I bring with me, and I let my corporate clients borrow it and take it and use it. And some of them specifically target anxiety, and other settings will specifically target sleep and mood. I have one that targets pain, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have tools. So tools for the brain, if we can call it that.
Yeah, and it's fast, right? If you clip it on your ears, there's one
Hmm.
that clips on your ears, and
Oh,
you
really?
can put it in your pockets.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then it goes with you wherever you go, and you can kind of just go about your day. And then I have one that takes about 20 minutes out of your day, 30 minutes out of your day, and you wear it, and you have to take time to do it, but it,
Hmm.
it does make you feel different. So,
Okay.
it's pretty fast
Yeah.
results.
Great, great. Well, that's a great example of just giving us insight that I never would have known to ask about. So let's do some rapid fire. Just this one
Okay.
after the other. Just give us ideas and insights.
Just like right now. Okay.
Anything at all that you think might
Okay.
be helpful to the viewers out there who are dealing with the times that we're in.
So handshakes at work make a huge difference. I realize we can't do that right now in COVID, but
Hmm.
handshakes at work make a huge difference. And you actually have parts of your hand when you touch here that
Hmm.
actually get activated. And it actually connects with a part of your brain that actually releases oxytocin, which is the friendly chemical that mothers and infants release to each other.
Right.
And another thing that people don't realize about your hands is if you use your hands and you have your hands up when
Mm-hmm.
somebody is speaking.
Yeah.
So if you lift your palms to the sky, as it were,
Mm-hmm.
down. You don't have to. I can put them under the table if you don't feel weird about it.
Yeah.
But if you lift your hands up, you will actually improve your retention of what people are saying, because this is the symbol in our neural spinal cord that we used to do tens of thousands of years ago when we came towards somebody and they were going to actually give us something good. So if you hold your hands up while you're listening, you'll actually retain what is being said much better, and they will perceive you. So if you come toward somebody and your hands are turned out as opposed to be turned in, they're turned out, that will signal to the person you're speaking to that you're friendly and that
Mm-hmm.
you're approachable. And they don't even think that. They can just sense it back here.
Yeah. You see Jessica's question there. Jessica Wood says,
Yeah.
what is, well, you can probably see it on screen right there, right?
What's a helpful technique for people to work through conflict at the workplace or at home? Um, there's 3 stories in every workplace conflict. And
Mm-hmm.
most people only see 2 stories.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see the 3rd story. So
Mm-hmm.
there's my story, there's your story, and there's the 3rd story. And that's the key. You need the other person to create the 3rd story. And most people say, well, my story's true. And I know that because I know what the truth is. And this person has a story, and I know what their story is. So I can tell you how they act.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the trick. You need to give and receive influence equally. So if you want to influence that person that you're having conflict with, you got to be able to give influence to them. So that's a tricky thing. But anyway, you can use those 2 stories and create a 3rd story. That's how you create you stack up meaning that way.
Co-creation of sort.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. All right. There's another question here. This one is from Tony Ruffo. He asked, "How about coping with vivid
COVID.
stress? COVID stress." I think he
Yeah.
meant to say COVID. He
I
typed
agree.
vivid. Well, vivid COVID stress. How's that?
Yeah, I agree with him. You know, COVID stress. I guess if you're coping with COVID stress, you got to think about what is it about COVID that is stressing you? Are you stressed out because you don't have enough money? Maybe reevaluate what you think you actually need and what you want. So that would be the first thing. Number 2, you probably need people. And if you don't have enough people, maybe it's a good idea is to connect with people online like we're doing right now,
Mm-hmm.
because this is pretty engaging.
Mm-hmm.
And another way to connect with people is to, drop them notes, right? If you want something, give it away. That's my basic bottom line. If you want something, give it away. It'll come back to you. Just like we're doing right now. We're giving away tips, and
Mm-hmm.
we're getting lots and lots of more things from the people.
You know,
And then the 3rd thing would be for coping for COVID stress. Don't watch the news. Don't do it. Stop doing that.
there's more life. There's more to life than information. Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
because your mind is going to loop over and over again with all of the, the things that make it sell, which is usually, death and destruction. And you don't need that in your brain. So,
Mm-hmm.
tell yourself the truth, what you need to know, and get yourself informed.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it. Then
Yeah.
cut it off. So every day you can give yourself like a small chunk of being informed, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Don't let it play over and over and over and over in the background. Don't do
There
that.
is such a thing as too much good of a good thing, right? I mean, water is good, but if I drink many, many liters of water a day, at some point I might drown myself,
You
right?
will actually harm yourself. You can actually hurt yourself by doing that. It's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. You see the question from Vivian there. She talks. She asked about the palm there. I'll let you read that out.
Yeah, palms turned upward helps memory retention. That's crazy. It is true. But it does make sense if you think about it, right? If you go back 10,000 years in our history, if people turned their palms up, they were ready to receive something from an ally. And that is exactly what you do when you retain information.
Mm-hmm. So, Vivian, appreciate the show, and of course, Deb here is making me look good with all of the different things we're talking about here. She's, you're bringing a lot of value to our listeners and very engaging, as has been mentioned. So appreciate it, Deb, and for making it happen here. Also, I have another comment from Sharon here. Again, the idea is people do find this valuable. I think particularly in times like this where where, as I said yesterday to my another guest, I said, in many ways that quote that we all know of is very apt right now, and that is, it was the worst of time and it was the best of time. And I think COVID is kind of like that. In many ways it's the worst of times for many people in many different ways, and in some ways it could be the best of times for some people, given sort of how they view the event, right?
Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities. Well quoted. You're a Dickensonian fan.
Thank you for attributing that, because I wasn't sure exactly. I knew it was very common and popular, all the stories and whatnot. But
Yeah, you know what? It's true though, because life is what you make of it. And there's been many people who've gone through very difficult times in our history, and they've used that time to make new innovations. Really,
mhm.
lots of people have taken that time to actually create new things.
Hmm. Well, we are approaching that time in terms of the time that we booked. And so before we sort of wind down here and close it off, are there anything, other things that you want to share that you said, Dune, I really want to talk about this, but you kept asking questions. Are there any things like that you want to share with our
You
viewers?
know what? I will. I'm gonna end on this note because it's a really great note to end on.
Hmm.
Gratitude is so important. It changes our brain. There's three things that change our brain. It actually rewires your circuits. You can actually take a functional MRI at period one, and then 12 months later, take a functional MRI. And if you do these things, it'll actually change how your brain is wired. Number one, gratitude.
Hmm.
Thank you, Dune. This has been a fantastic time to talk. I love speaking with you, and I love your listeners and the engagement of having this like chat while we talk. This is a fabulous show. Number two, random acts of kindness. I'm going to go and find somebody today that can make me feel, I can make them feel as great as you've made me feel today, Dune.
Oh,
And,
wonderful.
uh, and number three, touch and affection. I'm going to go hug my children and my husband and my dog, anybody else I can find that I can have
Mhm.
physical contact with.
Here,
Because
here, let's do a high five. Can you do a high
okay.
five? Okay,
Oh,
the other way. There you go. Oh, not too
wait.
far. There you go. Ah! Well, Deb, I can't thank you enough for sharing some wonderful tips and ideas for our listeners. And I know a lot of your friends and colleagues have been on as well, and they've been engaging. And so I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for all of those of you who taken the time out of your lunch hour here and just sort of participate, and really appreciate that. And this is actually just I just started this here just a couple of days ago, so we're early on here. So we're hoping to learn from it. We're hoping to evolve, and really appreciate you being one of the pioneers here with me on this particular rendition of it.
I learned from your show yesterday, and I appreciate your show from yesterday too. That was great.
Yes, yes. I'm just going to share wondering if there's any last comments from some of our viewers here. As we're closing off here, I'm just going to show the a few comments here. Vivian has just echoed or what you've said there. Gratitude is so important. And Jim, Mr. Jim Dick, who will be on with me tomorrow. Jim Dick is going to be our guest tomorrow. Are you still on, Jim, or did we scare you away? Just kidding. I think it's going to be a very different show tomorrow with Jim. And but Jim is one of the fellow musicians in the community here, an ex-school, retired school teacher, and all that. Very diverse background, and so looking forward to talking with you tomorrow, Jim. But there's just a few more comments that I just want to quickly display here. I think gratitude resonated with a lot of people. Deb, you really kind of hit the thing there, and all right. So we're going to close it off here by
Okay.
saying that times like this, we do different things. I think if it wasn't for COVID, I might still be kind of busy doing a lot of different things that I've been doing, and I'm busy today. But I would have not thought about making time for this. So is this unique time that caused me to say, well, you know what? I'm going to commit to doing this every weekday. Every weekday, we're going to be doing this. So come back one of these days, Deb. We love
I
to hear
could.
more from you.
I could come back to, and if you'd like to have me back, I could come back.
Yeah. So this is the first few of hopefully many to come. And I mean, at one time we might find that every weekday might be not sustainable. But until then, we're going to run on this weekday thing. And so what I'm going to do is, Jim likes my shirt. What
I love your shirt. I love your shirt.
This is one of my band shirts. I just put it on.
Your shirt. You know,
So.
it's vivid and it's happy.
Mhm. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let you do your closing remarks here. So with that, I'm going to just kind of go into this mode here. And all right, so it's all yours to take us home. Anything that
Okay.
you want to say, as long as you want to keep going.
Thank you, listeners, for being here. I've really enjoyed our time together. So remember, it's great to learn new things, but the trick is to go and apply one or two. So just pick one of the things that you've heard from either Dune or myself today and go and do it. Knowing it is great, doing it is so much better. Go take on the day.
There you go. You've heard it here again. Just do it. Hopefully Nike doesn't come back after us, but just cross our fingers that we're okay with that. So thank you so much and have a wonderful afternoon, Deb, and have a wonderful afternoon to our listeners. All right.
Great. Thank you, Dune.